morning, everybody. Welcome to Sayreville Public Library. This is the Know Your Town, the Sayreville Historical Society, in conjunction with our 100th anniversary of the founding of the borough of Sayreville, are going to be doing a series of programs so that people can learn about how the local government works. Today is an overview, not only of the local government, but so that you know about the state, the county, as well as the local. Our presenter today is Christian Hibinski, and I'll now turn it over to Christian.
Thank you, Art. Hi, everyone. My name is Christian Hibinski. I'll be your presenter this morning. Today's topic, as I mentioned, is our local and state government. I thought it was important to first address what the three branches are of New Jersey state government. We're going to go from top down, from our highest state levels to our most local levels. I think that way you guys can get a good feel of how every level of the state government works and where you need to go for certain things. So first off, we have our executive branch, our judicial branch, and our legislative branch here in the state of New Jersey. This is just like how our federal government is set up, like with the president, Congress, and the Supreme Court. It's mirrored on just a smaller level here in New Jersey. First, I'm going to talk about the executive branch. Encompassed in the executive branch is the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the various departments that the governor controls. The departments are similar to the federal level as well, just on a smaller scale. Here, our current governor, for those who didn't know, is Governor Philip Murphy, and our current lieutenant governor is Sheila Oliver. Additionally, the lieutenant governor position is a very new position in New Jersey. This is only our second lieutenant governor ever in the state's history. Our first lieutenant governor was the previous person before Sheila Oliver, Lieutenant Governor Kim Badano. Chris Christie actually made the position for her, and we're moving forward. We try to be like some other states in that regard as well. I also have listed the various departments that the executive branch controls. It's Department of Agriculture, Banking, Children and Families, Community Affairs, Department of Corrections, Education, Environmental Protection, Health, Human Services, Labor, Workforce Development, Law and Public Safety, Military and Veterans Affairs, Department of State, Department of Transportation, Department of the Treasury. Like I said, these are very local, state level, mirrored of the federal programs such as U.S. Department of Justice, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, U.S. Department of the Treasury. Just picture that on a state level. And our next big branch of state government is the court system. Now, here in New Jersey, we have three levels of main courts. Our lowest level of court is the Superior Court. And then that's where you would go if you had a trial or most likely a criminal charge, you'd go to Superior Court. And if you don't like your outcome in Superior Court, you can file an appeal. Everybody is entitled to an appeal as a right. And after that, you go to the second highest level court, which is the Superior Court Appellate Division. And same process in the Appellate Division as the first level court. If you don't like your outcome in the Appellate Division, you can appeal again to the New Jersey Supreme Court. And if you don't like your decision in the Supreme Court of New Jersey, which is the highest state court in our state, then we can file a writ of certiorari and see if the United States Supreme Court down in DC would want to hear your case. We actually had a pretty landmark case that just came out of the New Jersey Supreme Court last year. The Supreme Court down in DC finally ruled on it. It was about the sports betting law down here in DC. Governor Christie started that litigation years ago, and it made its way all the way through the three courts in New Jersey, and the Supreme Court just heard it last year, and as of last year, we have sports betting now legalized in the state of New Jersey. So that's one of the biggest landmark decisions there. This is not the case for every state. Every state's court system is set up differently. I personally have experience working in New York state courts. In New York, the Supreme Court is actually the lowest level. So in New Jersey, the Supreme Court is the highest level. In New York, it's actually the lowest level. And then in New York, it goes Supreme Court, Appellate Division is the same, and then their highest level is actually the Court of Appeals. And then it goes to the Supreme Court if you're in the state of New York. But And like I said, that's just one example. Every state has it differently. And some additional courts to talk about, which you might find yourself in, hopefully not, in the state of New Jersey, we have municipal court. Municipal court is one you're probably most familiar with. A municipal court is you get a traffic ticket, you're going to municipal court. We actually have a municipal court right down the road from here in Sayreville. That's where you're most likely going for very minor offenses and things like that. There's tax court, which you would go to for anything tax related, any tax disputes. Family court, most of you are probably familiar with family court as well. Divorces, adoptions, things like that. And then surrogates court, which some of you probably aren't that familiar with, but it's basically a probate court. And I'm going to talk about later. We have an elected surrogate that helps run the surrogates court. Now I just want to talk about our state structure. This is how our New Jersey state government is set up right now. We have, it's in New Jersey, a bicameral government, which just means there's two houses. It's similar to the United States, how the United States Congress is set up. In the United States Congress, there's the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. In New Jersey, we have that mirrored on a smaller scale as well. We have the New Jersey State Senate and the New Jersey General Assembly. A legislative district is simply an area of the state map that's been carved out by New Jersey Apportionment Commission that decides, they're done by population and they're done by geography as well. And it's to ensure that each area of the state gets the most representation possible in the state. So we don't have giant, bigger districts, which we'll talk about next, which are the congressional districts for the federal level. So this is more localized. These are more localized districts, so we can have the most direct connection to our representatives. In each one of these legislative districts, there's one elected state senator, and there are 2 elected members of the General Assembly. So each one of these 40 districts, we have 1 senator per district and 2 assembly people per district. That's for all 40 of them. And for you guys, if you guys didn't know, if you take a look on the map, Sayreville here is over in legislative district number 19. And our members' offices are in Woodbridge. Our current senator is Senator Joseph Vitale, and one of our assembly members is actually the speaker of the New Jersey Assembly, Speaker Craig Coughlin, and our other member of the assembly, her name is Yvonne Lopez. She's from Perth Amboy. So if you have any questions about local government, please reach out to our local representatives. They're great. I've had the opportunity to work for some of them personally. They can help anyone in Sayreville with any needs you might need. And so that was the state level. Now we're going to talk about the federal level. These are the people that we send to Washington, D.C. They represent us here in New Jersey, but take our interest down to D.C. on the federal level. These districts are congressional districts, and they're a little bit bigger, as you guys can see on the map, because we're trying to encompass more people, more ideas to take down to D.C. with us. In our federal structure, we have 2 United States senators per state. That's not a New Jersey exclusive thing. That's every state gets 2 U.S. senators per their state to represent them in the United States Senate down in Washington, D.C. Currently, our 2 U.S. senators are Senator Robert Menendez and Senator Cory Booker. Some of you may know Cory Booker more so lately because he's running for president right now. Additionally, we have our congressmen. Our congressmen are in the other chamber of the House of Representatives, the other chamber of Congress known as the House of Representatives down in D.C. They work alongside our U.S. senators, just like in the New Jersey state government, and to pass laws and represent our interests. Each one of these congressional districts has 1 member of Congress. This is different than our state legislature, where we have 1 state senator and 2 assembly members per district. So that is the congressional map over there. And there's just one member of Congress per district here. Our Sayreville's current district is district number 6 over there, if you guys can see on the map. And our current congressman is Congressman Frank Malone. He has offices in Long Branch and New Brunswick. For anyone that might have any questions you might want to bring to him and his office, and as well as his DC office. Okay, so now we have gone through our how our local state government set up, and how our federal representation is set up. So moving down from the state, we're going to funnel down for a little bit to the county level. So we're going to state to county. And here in New Jersey, we have 21 counties. They're each run by a board of chosen freeholders. I'll explain later what a board of chosen freeholders is, because a lot of people don't know what that is actually. And we actually have constitutional officers. A constitutional officer they are elected, but they're called constitutional officers because the New Jersey State Constitution requires a certain amount of duties to be carried out in order to effectively be lived by the New Jersey Constitution, and each of these positions is created to ensure a certain duty gets carried out. So they're known as constitutional officers because they help carry out the Constitution of the state. So, what is the Board of Chosen Freeholders? It is an elected commission of either 3, 5, 7, or 9 seats determined by the size of the county's population that carry out executive and legislative functions. Essentially, the biggest thing they do is they deal with the county budget. That's their main goal here. Here in Middlesex County, where Sayreville is located, we actually have 7 elected freeholders. They're elected at large. At large just means the entire county votes on them. Everybody in the county is allowed to vote for them. There's no separate districts. There's no nothing. If you live in Middlesex County, your vote counts as a whole towards one of these 7 people as they come up. And they're staggered to 3-year terms each. Additionally, we have one freeholder that gets selected as a freeholder director, and another freeholder that gets selected as a deputy director. The director appoints the other freeholders to various commissions and committees that oversee various county government functions. What is the county sheriff? That's our first constitutional officer we're going to talk about this morning. Primary duty of the sheriff is the security of the county courthouses and protecting all personnel assigned to these facilities. So if you ever been to a county courthouse, the people in the uniforms, they're known as the sheriff's officers. They help ensure all the county courthouses are safe. Everything's good to go there. Additionally, one of the other main responsibilities of the county sheriff is that the transportation division of the sheriff's office is responsible for transporting inmates to and from the courthouse, as well as to and from other law enforcement departments and correctional facilities throughout the state. So they're pretty much in charge of transporting the inmates where they need to go at all times, whether it's for a court hearing or they need to be moved from a county jail to a state jail or whatnot. And the county clerk. So some of you may be familiar with the county clerk. We get her paper ballots in the mail every election. That's the office responsible for producing those ballots, so we can see who's being on the ballot in every election. But some other additional duties of the county clerk you may not know are they swear in and certify notaries. So if you want to be a notary, go to the county clerk. They file trade name certificates. County clerk is responsible for recording documents concerned with the purchase and sale of real estate. So if you purchase a house, we can go to the county clerk. Filing of military discharges for any veterans. They're also responsible for the filing subdivision maps, tideland and wetlands, and riparian aerial photos. Riparian is a fancy word for water and rivers. And the issuance of veterans peddlers licenses. And further, the county clerk actually plays, as I mentioned before, they play a role in the election process of applications for passports, and they can perform wedding ceremonies. So if you want to get married at City Hall, you can go to the county clerk and they can marry you right then and there. Consenting, of course. But yeah, essentially anything to do with any elections ever in Middlesex County or any county, you need to check in with the county clerk and see what paperwork you have to file with them to make sure your name gets on the ballot, and following all rules and thus and so forth.
Christian, can I ask, since I'm new to New Jersey, what is a veteran's peddler's license?
Sure. A peddler is a merchant of sorts. So it's self-explanatory in that regard. If you're a veteran, you want to go sell something, you go to the county clerk's office, get your license to be a merchant. Thank you. Moving on, we have the county surrogate. So most people, I feel like this is probably the least known of the constitutional officers. Most people don't know what a surrogate is. So, the surrogate is also elected, just like the county clerk and the county sheriff. They are elected, but they're not, like I said, they're not technically elected officials, but like they are with the constitutional officers. It's interesting, but I explained that before. But some of the duties of the surrogate are they probate wills, they help process adoptions, they process contested probate matters, they process alleged incompetence, they film and record all probate proceedings, invest in minors' funds, they appoint guardians of minors, and the administration of estates without wills. This all takes place in the surrogate's court. I mentioned what the surrogate's court was earlier, but we actually have an elected position here in the county, the county surrogate position, that helps go through all of these duties and make sure they all get carried out in the court system. Interestingly, the county surrogate, even though they are technically a judge in the surrogate's court, do not have to be a lawyer or a judge. So anybody can technically run for this position even without the requisite law degree. Because it's technically not practicing, you're just helping administrate the court proceedings. Okay, so moving on from the county, we're going to start talking about different municipalities. So we went from state to county to our municipal level now. It's important to, before we get into municipal government, to decide to lay out what the different types of municipal governments are and what your specific town or not can be incorporated as. The most popular form, and the borough in Sayreville, is the borough form of government. You can also have a city, you can be incorporated as a town, you can be incorporated as a township, or you can be incorporated as a village. The main differences between them are in terms of population. Usually borough is the most popular because most towns fall in the middle, population-wise, like 50,000-ish. So like borough is it's very popular. That's the most popular one. Village is the least popular one. There's only 5 incorporated villages in the state of New Jersey. Very, very small amount of villages. City is the most. City is the type of municipal government that usually incorporates the most population. Usually, if you have a very large population, you incorporate it as a city, basically usually for tax purposes. Town, self-explanatory. It's smaller than a borough. It's your choice whether you want to. Townships are interesting though, because they're usually like a conglomeration of little towns into one big township. Woodbridge is a township. In Woodbridge, there's Avenel, Fords, Hope Lawn. A lot of these little towns that help make up a township. But a township doesn't have to. They can still opt for special forms of governing. Most townships actually. I'm going to talk about the types of structures later, but for townships specifically, most townships operate by a governing committee. A committee is usually elected between maybe like 3 members get elected in each election, and then they all take a turn rotating as the mayor in the township. Woodbridge doesn't do that, but most townships do that. So it's a township committee as opposed to like a mayor and a council. And they all just take a turn being mayor, and then they all take a turn being council. It's for however long their term is. So that's townships. Okay, so After we incorporate, now we have to decide how we want our local government to run. First we pick the type, and then we decide how we're going to set it up. There's 6 ways we can set it up. There's through the Walsh Act of 1911, through the 1923 Municipal Manager Law, and there's the third option, which you choose one of these 4. You can choose to, it's the optional municipal charter law. There's either they're all under the Faulkner Act. Under the Faulkner Act, we can go mayor-council form of government. We can go mayor-council administrator form of government. We can go a council-manager form of government. And we can choose to incorporate choose to structure us as a small municipality. And if you really, really don't like any of these forms, you can petition for a special charter to set up and run your town however you like. You submit that to the New Jersey State Legislature, and they'll approve you if they think your form of government is acceptable and is able to function properly, like one of the other ones. So now I'm just going to go through each one of these forms of government to give you a greater idea about what each entails. Under the Walsh Act of 1911, voters select 3 or 5 commissioners in nonpartisan elections. Each commissioner is in charge of specific departments within the municipality, and all serve 4-year concurrent terms. Together, the commissioners make up the governing body of the municipality. So that's a general idea of if a town chose to incorporate under the Walsh Act. Second form, the 1923 Municipal Manager Law. So under this form of government, a municipal council composed of 3, 5, 7, or 9 members is elected at large with a term of office typically for 4 years. The council then appoints several key officials, namely the municipal manager, the tax assessor, the auditor, the clerk, the treasurer, and an attorney. The manager acts as the chief executive of the municipality and is responsible for appointing the other officials and preparing the budget for council consideration. The manager serves only at the pleasure of the council. A mayor is also chosen from among the council members whose primary duty is to preside over council meetings. Only 7 municipalities currently use this form of government, so it's very few towns in the state of New Jersey that actually choose to have their government structured that way. This is the mayor-council form of government under the Faulkner Act. This is probably the most popular form of government in the state. Under this form of government, this provides for election of a mayor and 5, 7, or 9 council members. The towns may choose the number they will at the amount of members, either 5, 7, or 9, or it could be depending on population, depending on how their town charter is set up. Each of these council members may be elected at large, or some may be elected by ward. A ward is simply a district cut out within your town that one person is elected to represent that district on the city council. So it provides a more smaller level of representation to your local government. So if there's Old Bridge is a good example. Our neighbor right next door to Sayreville, they have their government is set up this way where there's wards. So instead of all of the council members being elected from the town as a whole, there's 5 wards. Each ward gets 1 representative, and all 5 of those representatives from the wards make up the entire council. So each part of the town make sure the representation is accounted for. These specific elections, they can be partisan or nonpartisan, and they serve 4-year concurrent or staggered terms. Under a mayor-council form, there can be up to 10 administrative departments, and in this form of government, mayors are vested with extremely broad executive power. Mayors run the show in this type of government. The council mainly supports the mayor in this form. The mayor has a lot of discretion about what he would like to do in this form of government. The next is the mayor-council administrator. This is what the borough of Sayreville is actually structured as. Here, voters elect a mayor and 6 council members at large for staggered terms with partisan elections. In this form of government, the mayor serves a 4-year term, and council members each serve 3-year terms. An organization meeting is held every January under this form of government to swear in new members because there's an election every year due to the staggerness of it. Up to 6 administrative departments may be created by ordinances. And this is actually a weak mayor form of government, and the mayor only votes to break ties, and the township administrator supervises the departments. So essentially, this is almost the opposite of the mayor council form, the strong mayor council form here. Here, the mayor has all the power, and the council supports him. In the mayor council administrator, the council has the power mostly, and the mayor acts only when the council can't come to an agreement and there's a tie, so you get the tie-breaking vote. And the mayor typically helps run the budget and other appointments. So those are some of the other duties vested in the mayor under this form of government. And we have an extra position, the administrator, and the administrator really helps supervises the departments here as opposed to the mayor over in this form of government. So that's what Sayreville set up as. Moving on, there's the council manager type of government. Under this form, the council consists of 5, 7, or 9 members elected by the public. One of the councilors, either chosen at large or by vote among the councilors. They serve as a mayor, who's merely the chair of the council and has no special privilege and veto power. This is a variant on the township committee. Like most township committees kind of act like this, where they rotate, and there's no special privileges, and they all just, one person gets to be a mayor, one person serves the chair, and they all rotate. So like that's where the township committee kind of comes from, this council manager type of government. In this form also, the council hires a manager who serves as the chief executive and administrative official. And this manager is the one who actually prepares the budget, appoints and removes department heads, and attends council meetings, but they don't vote. So essentially, the manager here is like the mayor in the mayor council administrative form of government, but they don't have a vote like the mayor does. This one the mayor gets a vote, this one the mayor doesn't get a vote. And then lastly, we have the small municipality form of government. This is a very unused government structure, and it's mainly because it's only open to municipalities with a population of under 12,000. So these are these little donor hole towns. They can choose to this form of government if they like. It's probably more beneficial to them if they do go with this form of government as opposed to a larger one. In here, the voters either select 3, 5, or 7 council members, or a mayor and 2, 4, or 6 council members. Depends on their town charter, how they want to structure their things. Each of these council members are elected at large because the town is so small, it wouldn't make sense to break them up into wards. The council serves 3 concurrent or staggered terms. An elected mayor, if provided for, is elected by the voters and serves a 4-year term. In these elections, though, they may be partisan or nonpartisan, which is interesting because in the mayor council administrative form of government, like we have in Sayreville, our elections are all partisan. An organization meeting for the governing body is also held in January for partisan municipalities and in July for nonpartisan. So there's some similarities there in our mayor council administrative form where they have to have their meetings, organization meetings in January if they choose partisan, which makes sense. But for the nonpartisan option, they have a little more time to get their organization settled. Here, the mayor, whether either elected by the voters or a council, they preside over the council with the voice of the vote, but they don't have any veto powers. The mayor exercises executive power in the municipality, the mayor appoints council committees, and the mayor appoints the municipal clerk, attorney, tax assessor, tax collector, treasurer, all with the council confirmation. Lastly, a council elected mayor serves a term of 1 or 3 years, depending on whether the terms are staggered and concurrent. So, for staggered, 1 term, concurrent, you have a 3-year term. Okay, so now I wanted to just, after we talked about our local government, I wanted to just let you guys all have an insight about who our current local government is here in Sayreville. So like I said, we have a mayor, council administrator form. Our current mayor is Mayor Kennedy O'Brien, and this is our current 6-member council we have here in Sayreville. We have Council President Dave Buchanan, Councilman Damon Enriquez, Councilman Kevin Delina, Councilman Victoria Kilpatrick, Councilman David McGill, and Councilman Mary Novak. You may recognize one of these people from in town. They're all very active people in town, so I wanted to put their pictures up for you guys, so in case you recognize them, you know they are an elected official and they are here to help you. And like I said, this is Sayreville's governing body. Our mayor can only vote if there's a 3-3 tie between these 6 bottom people as a tiebreaking vote here. Next, underneath the municipal level, I want to talk about school districts. There are 2 types of school districts. There is type 1, and a type 1 school district includes every local school district established in a city, except where the district has changed its classification. And the Board of Education consists of 5, 7, or 9 members, while in cities of the first class, which is a city with a population of over 150,000, which is first class city, the Board of Education must consist of 9 members, more people, more members, makes sense. And the board members are appointed to 3-year terms by the mayor or other chief executive of the municipality that constitutes the district. The other type of school district is type 2. This is usually a more popular one because it's more localized. Type 2 school district includes all local districts and municipalities other than cities, all consolidated school districts, all regional school districts, and can have either an elected Board of Education, where the board consists of 9 members, unless by law the number was reduced to 3, 5, or 7 members, elected at annual school elections for terms of 3 years, or appointed Board of Education, where members are appointed by the mayor or other chief executive officer of a municipality for 5-year terms or 5-member boards. I do it up in North Jersey a lot. The 3-year terms for 7 to 9 member boards. Okay, and for reference, Sayreville is type 2 because our Board of Education is elected. I also wanted to just give you an overview of our current Sayreville Board of Education. These are our current elected members of the Board of Education here in Sayreville. We have President Kevin Syak, Vice President Anthony Esposito, Daniel Balka, Phyllis Batko, Christopher Callahan, Lucy Bloom, Carrie Kenny, Karen Rubio, and John Walsh. We have 9 members currently on our board, which type 2 mandates 9 members unless otherwise, but we have 9 here in Sayreville. And these are the people these are the elected people that you would go to if you have any questions in your schools and whatnot. I also listed the schools under the Board of Education here in Sayreville's jurisdiction. Maybe you or one of your children go to these schools or know somebody that goes to one of these schools. The schools in Sayreville's jurisdiction are the Jesse Sullivan School, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Harry Truman School, the Project for Preschool, Emma Arliss School, the Woodrow Wilson School, the Samsville Upper Elementary School, Sayreville Middle School, and Sayreville War Memorial High School. So the Board of Education helps all of these schools, helps us their budget, helps keep them afloat for the most part. They do a lot of good work for the schools. Further, going beyond the Board of Education, are even smaller appointed boards in Sayreville. In order to get appointed to a board, you simply go to our Sayreville website, you fill out an application, and for one of these boards, and if you're interested, and the mayor and council will approve you. Most likely you'll be approved if you're willing to help out the community on one of these boards, and if there's an open spot. These are some of the boards. If any of these interest you, it's a great way to get involved in the community and get your foot in the door in Borough Hall and see what the local government's all about, because the town runs on these boards. You know, we have Board of Adjustment, Board of Health, Environmental Commission, Planning Board. Most people know what a planning board is. Most towns have them. We have a Library Board of Trustees, Shade Tree Commission, Recreation Advisory Commission, our Commission on Aging, Cultural Arts Council, our Human Relations Commission, our Housing Authority, our Rent Leveling Board, our Recycling Commission, Emergency Management, Local Emergency Planning Committee, the Sayreville Commission for the Disabled, the Mayor's Task Force on Substance Abuse, the Economic Redevelopment Agency, also known as CERA, Open Space Committee, and the Sayreville Committee. So if any of you guys are interested in being part of any of these boards, the applications are online on our borough website, and fill one out and explain why you're interested. They're really great ways to get involved in the community and be part of a board that does something for the community here. Great intro. I think you might have to be 18 to be on board, but if you're over 18, please give it a look. We're always looking for new people on boards and great volunteer work. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, which most people might not know, is the county committee. The county committee is an elected position. It's one of the lowest level elected positions you can have, but it is an elected position nonetheless. They are partisan, so you do have to register as a Republican or a Democrat to run for a county committee seat. These positions appear on the ballot during primary elections, which makes sense because if you're choosing to run as a Republican county committeeman, you have to be in a Republican primary, and choose to run as a Democrat county committee person, then you should be in the Democrat primary. It is important to note, though, that the elections for the county committee seats are on separate years. So there's never a Republican county committee election, a Democrat county committee election in the same election cycle. There is one elected committee man and one elected committee woman per district, per party. So here in Sayreville, there are, I think, 35 committee districts. These are like wards, but it's where the town is broken down into geographic areas. You would know your committee district by where you go vote. So if wherever you vote is your committee district, they have a number outside on the sign when you walk in, voting district number 10. So you live in District 10. So if you vote in District 10, then you're eligible to run for a committee seat in District 10, and for any of the other 35 districts as well. There are currently one committee man and one committee woman, so there one man and one woman can represent a district at a time. That's currently how it's set up. Can't have 2 men or 2 women in a district, and each district can have one committee man and one committee woman per party. So say we're back in District 10, we can have one Republican committee woman and one Republican committee man for District 10, but we can also have one Democratic committee woman and one Democratic committee man for District 10. Each of these, it's good to perhaps run for one of these positions because these elected committee people help make up our local municipal parties. So the local Sayreville Republican organization, local Sayreville Democratic organization are made up of these elected county committee people, and that's a good way to make your voice heard in town because these local organizations, your local party organizations, they help choose and vet local candidates for office. That's one of their main responsibilities. So if you want to say in who your party's putting up for mayor, or who your party's putting up for city council, run as a committee man, get a vote, have a voice. They're great positions to have. And another benefit is that the county part of the county committee, because it's not just in town, but you also get to be part of the larger respective county committee, either the Middlesex County Republican organization or the Middlesex County Democratic organization, depending on which party you're in under. And the county committee they actually do the same thing as your local municipal parties. They vet and they choose candidates for countywide office. So all of those positions I talked about before, freeholder, county sheriff, county clerk, and surrogate, those are all countywide positions. So if you want to say in who gets put on the ballot for your respective party, you get a vote as a county committee person in your respective county organization to decide who represents you at one of those positions in every election. So it's a very grassroots type of position, but the it's really the foundation of our local government structure is the county committee. So if you're ever interested, go to the county clerk's office or our borough clerk's office as well, or municipal clerk's office in Borough Hall right here, and they can get you sorted out for a position like that. I'm not sure when, they're 2-year terms, so I think the Republican election was last year. I'm not sure what the Democrat one is. It's in the off year, so it should be coming up this year. I think it's this year. So if you were interested as a Democrat this year, please reach out to your local chairman and see what can be done about the election this year as well. But essentially, that's the gist of what a county committee is. And like I said, they're really the grassroots structure of our local government. And with that, I took you guys through a top-down structure of New Jersey government. We started from the governor. We talked about the judicial branch and the legislative branch and how those are all set up. We talked about our county government. We talked about what types of municipalities your town can be. We talked about the types of structures your town can be after they incorporate. We talked about alternative elections, such as school board, which is another great way to involve the community. Most are actually unpartisan school board elections. So if you don't like the partisan politics of it all, school board might be the position for you to run for if you really want to help the schools. And lastly, we talked about our county committee, which is the grassroots of each of the major political parties in our county, in our town. So if you want to get involved in any of those things, you know where to go, you know what all the positions are about now. And I thank you guys for listening to me this morning, and I hope you guys learned something. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you guys.
Thank you.